Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime. Today I have a very exciting video for you. I'm not even joking, I've been working on this for 2 years. I know that's absolutely ridiculous, but that's just how long it is taking me to get through this. Okay, so without further ado, what we're doing today is going over every single book from this list that I found on Goodreads called New LGBTQ Plus Romances to Read for Pride Month and All Year Long. Now, this list was released in 2022, which is when I started reading books for this list, and I just finally finished all of the books yesterday. So I'm like very excited to be finally making this video because it has just been like in the back of my head for literally the last 2 years. So first off, this is inspired by the wonderful Chandler Ainsley. If you don't know, she's like one of my biggest YouTube inspirations content-wise. I just think she comes up with super creative videos. She could knock this out in 2 months, but it took me 2 years. So I definitely have a new appreciation for how hard she works as a content creator because she puts out these list videos all the damn time. So I will leave a few of her videos linked down below. Her list videos are my favorite, definitely inspired this video very much. So that's what we're doing in this video today. There are 56 books on this list, I believe, and we're going to talk about every single one of them to kind of make it easy for you. I am going to give a rating. I'm going to give like a 1 to 2 sentence kind of summary, thoughts and feelings, and we're also going to be ranking them. So as a queer person, of course, love RuPaul's Drag Race, and so we're going to take inspiration from that masterpiece of a show, use the rankings that they use in that show. So we're going to have tops and bottoms, of course, best, worst, you get it. But then in Drag Race, also, of course, we have people that are safe. These are like middle of the road, books that are better and books that are worse, but these are just safe in the middle. But then we're also gonna have highs and lows, and these are the people that are in like the bottom 3 or the top 3, but they're not the best or the worst of the week. Yeah. That was kind of convoluted. Top, high, safe, low, bottom. Those are the rankings, and I'll put them up on the screen as we go. I think that's all I have to say. So let's go ahead and get into this video. The very first book on the list is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a small town sapphic romance that follows a main character who has a vendetta against her stepfamily, which takes up quite a bit of the book, but it also involves a cute, cozy romance with a love interest who has a kid. In this book, there is good writing, emotional depth, found family vibes, and a very sweet romance. It is definitely worth the read. I rated it a 4.5 and it is going into the high category. Next on the list is I'm So Not Over You by Kasoko Jackson. This one is maybe a little less worth the read. As a black and queer romance, I really want to recommend this one on paper, but in actuality, it really didn't hit like I wanted it to. And my main problem with it is that it's a second chance romance, but it is never explained why the two main characters didn't work out in the first place, and so we have no idea as the reader how they are going to work out in the second place. You know, so that was a big fail on this book's part. I'm not sure why that wasn't addressed in editing or anywhere. So I honestly wouldn't recommend this one. I ended up giving it 2 stars and it is going into the low category. Now, Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur is a second chance romance done right. This one is sapphic. It is trope-filled and sweet as candy. The friends to lovers and forced proximity tropes in this book will have you kicking your feet like a little girl. It is adorable and so sweet and so cute. Would recommend. I gave this one a 4.5 as well, and it is going in the high category. Now, Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly is our first top of the list. I rated this one also 4.5, but it just has like a top feeling, you know, like it's a top. This is a female non-binary romance. It's Grumpy Sunshine, and it takes place on the set of a cooking reality competition show, which is right up my alley. I love Chopped and like MasterChef and all of those shows with my whole heart, so reading a queer romance on the set of one of those reality TV shows is literally right up my alley. And if it's also right up your alley, you would love this book because it is well written, it is cute and hot and sweet. Honestly, sign me the fuck up. Like I said, this one is in the top category. Next on the list is Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander. This is another female non-binary romance set in a kitchen, although this one's not on a reality TV show, but I think the two do make YouTube videos together, so honestly kind of similar. I'm sensing a theme, although this one was a little less successful than Love and Other Disasters, mostly because there is a huge trigger warning in this book. Our main character does misgender our love interest more than once. So honestly, that will decide for you if you want to read this book or not. If we remove that from the book, like it was a cute, sweet romance, but I really did not like that aspect of the book. And I would assume if you were non-binary or trans, you would find that very triggering, especially as it happens on page and is kind of excused and brushed off. Putting that aside, I did rate this book a 3.5 stars, and I am going to give it a safe rating because there are definitely a lot of books on this list that were worse, although that will probably be a bigger issue for some than others. Next on the list is Love, Hate, and Clickbait by Liz Bowery. This is another book that could be triggering for some, especially if you have trouble suspending your disbelief that politicians aren't inherently evil, which fair, but I myself am able to suspend my disbelief for a hot sexy romance. Unfortunately though, this really wasn't that. It was honestly just okay. The two characters really hate each other fundamentally in the beginning, so if you really want like an intense enemies to lovers vibe, you might like this one, but I would say that it's just okay. I ended up giving this a 3.5 star and am going to give it a safe rating. Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall is a campy Regency male-male romance, which a lot of people are hating. I don't really know why, but the reviews are honestly really bad. My review though is really good. I thought it was a fun ass time. And if you go into it also not taking it too seriously, I can't see why you wouldn't have a fun time. This was a 5 star for me, and I'm gonna put it in the high category just because I guess it's not for everyone, but honestly I really liked it, so I don't know. Next on the list is The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn. There are way too few romances with ace main characters, so for that alone I would recommend picking this book up. I would also recommend picking it up for Fox, the love interest, as he is 100% book boyfriend material. He is wonderful and lovely. There was a bit of a spark missing from this book, and I also felt like I was being educated at some points, so I didn't love that. I ended up giving this a 3.5 star, but I am going to put it in the high category because I definitely think it's worth the read. 10 books in, and we are at probably the best book on this fucking list, and that is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This is Alexis Hall's magnum opus. If you haven't read this book, you need to immediately. It is incredible. It's Regency, friends to lovers, and has a trans female main character, and it is literal perfection. The writing is great, the pining is great, the yearning is great, like the romance and the way it develops, the emotional depth, literally a perfect book. Like, I could not think of anything better than this book. It was wonderful, immaculate, amazing. 5 stars, and this is going in the top category, the top ass book. On the other hand, we have No Rings Attached by Rachel Lacey. Now, if you like sapphic fake dating romances, don't read this one because the fake dating aspect only lasts about 50 pages of this book, and the rest is a long, slow, boring road trip, which is not very fun. So maybe if you like boring sapphic road trip stories, pick this one up. Otherwise, I would skip it. 2.5. Low. Another book by Anita Kelly, we have Wherever Is Your Heart. This is actually a novella, and it is perfect if you're looking for a sapphic older mask for older mask kind of story. This one is definitely really cute and well written, but it was super slow for being a short story, so it wasn't a favorite for me. I'm giving it 3 stars and a safe rating. Never Been Kissed by Timothy Janofsky, more like never met a book I wished I had DNF'd more. That was terrible, I'm sorry. But really, this story features a Demi main character, which is really cool. I always love Ace Rep, but that's about where the good things about this book end because it was very cringe. It was very poorly written. The dialogue was stupid. It was a truly painful read with bad writing and zero chemistry. I wouldn't recommend this to my worst enemy, to be honest with you, and it is our first bottom of the list. The Magic Between by Stephanie Hott is a story that I was super excited for because it has the bonding trope in it, or at least that's what's promised in the description. Honestly, the bonding trope really did not come to fruition in the way that I wanted it to, so I was left a little bit disappointed. I also think the story was trying to do too much in one thing, as we have one main character who is a pop star and the love interest is like famous sports player, so it was like celebrity and sports and also magic. It was just kind of a lot, and I don't think the execution was really there for how much was going on. I ended up giving this book a 3.5 star and a safe rating. You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emeze is a story in which our main character fucks her boyfriend's dad. I didn't like it. I have to say the writing is beautiful. Like, Akwaeke Emeze is an amazing author and I love her other stuff, but this book just was not it for me. It was very strange, and the worst part about all of it is that our main character didn't communicate with anyone and just kind of fucked everyone over. So yeah, not for me. This I gave a 2 star for just the writing alone, honestly, and it's getting a low rating for me. Almost in the bottom, but we're gonna stick with low. Boss Witch by Anne Aguirre is perhaps my absolute least favorite book on this entire fucking list. Honestly, I'm mad at myself for finishing it, and I would avoid this one at all costs. 1 star, bottom book. Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding by Chancia C. Higgins. Now, I know everyone has heard of fake dating, but have you heard of fake engagement? because that's what this book is. Our two characters meet as strangers and are paired together on a reality competition show in which they have to convince their entire family and friends that they are for real engaged and getting married. But the catch is that these two actually have insane chemistry and end up falling in love for real. And they have some hot chemistry, let me tell ya. I was sweating. Who are we to fight the alchemy, if you get my drift? This was a 4-star and just getting a high rating. Book Boyfriend by Chris Ripper is honestly one of the stupid, most egregious books on this entire list. Our main character, PK, basically writes fanfiction about him and his roommate slash best friend and publishes it as a romance book, which our said love interest ends up like loving but doesn't know that PK wrote, and PK just refuses to tell them until it all blows up in his face. Yeah, I guess if you like your main characters to be morally gray imbeciles, you could read this book. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I gave this a 1.5 star. I don't know why I gave it a half star, and it's getting a bottom rating. Going Public by Hudson Lin is one of the books that I put off until last when reading through this list because I really didn't think I was gonna like it, and I was really correct. This is another boss employee book with a notable demi-rep, but it's really only enjoyable if you enjoy a book where the love interest is a capitalist boss overlord who makes morally questionable decisions. Maybe he and PK should get together. I give this book 2 star and it's getting a low rating. Everything for You by Chloe Leese. There was a surprising amount of depth in this Grumpy Sunshine sports romance. It was super cute, well-rounded, and had really great anxiety and chronic pain rep. My only real complaint was that it was very difficult to keep all the characters straight, and I think this is mostly my fault because I only read this book and not the first 4 in the series. They're companion books, so like you didn't have to read the first 4, but I think I would have been able to understand and appreciate the cameos a lot more had I read those, although I was already reading enough books for this list and I damn sure was not going to read 4 straight romances before I could read this book. So sorry, but I am going to complain about that still, even though it's my fault. I give this book 4.5 stars and it's going in the high category. Her Royal Happiness by Lola Keeley is a sapphic romance involving a normie and a royal, and I think they also fake date for press or publicity or, you know, whatever other reason people fake date for. It actually was super cute and well written, and I would definitely recommend if you're in the mood for this kind of thing. 4 stars. High rating. Next on the list is Queerly Beloved by Susie Dummond. The first 50% of this sapphic small town romance was really cute and promising, but then the love interest got a personality transplant and just like refused to talk to our main character. And also our main character was doing weird things and being treated poorly by other characters in the story. I don't know. It just kind of went off the rails after the 50% mark and turned strange. It was definitely far from my favorite on this list, and I ended up giving it a very middle of the road 2.5 rating, and I'm gonna give it a safe ranking because I do think there are a lot of books that were worse, but this one just was really kind of meh for me. The Romance Recipe by Ruby Barrett. I would recommend reading this book if you never want to eat in a restaurant again because the sex scenes in this book were fucking gross. And all happened in professional kitchens. I gave the book a 1 star and it's going in the bottom. Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert is the only poly book on this list. The rep we're getting for poly romances is not present, not in the room with us. This book was horrible. I ended up DNFing this one actually. It is the first DNF on this list. And I'm sure that this book tickles some people's pickle, but it definitely did not tickle mine. Mine shriveled up and died. Thank you. Next. Like I said, DNF'd this one, didn't rate it, and it's going in the bottom. Husband Material by Alexis Hall is the book for you if you're looking for a book that's completely fucking pointless and spends the entire 400-page book leading up to something that doesn't even fucking happen. No thanks. 2 stars. Low. Next is Island Time by Georgia Clark. I almost said Leanne Moriarty because this book reads like a slow-paced Leanne Moriarty, except gay. It's set on an Australian island in which a natural disaster happens, and for like a gay natural disaster book, it was really boring. And honestly, all the characters sucked and I kind of wish they had died in the natural disaster. 2 stars, low rating. The Long Game by Rachel Reed is the follow-up to Heated Rivalry. Now, if you loved Heated Rivalry and Shane and Ilya's story, this is a continuation of their story, and I would recommend reading it to spend more time with them. But honestly, this book wasn't life-changing and the ending kind of disappointed me. Please don't kill me. I know people are huge fans of this series, but I didn't need it. Like, the first book was fine, you know? I'm good. I don't need a second book. Although I did give this book 4 stars and I'm gonna give it a high rating because it was really good. It was really good. I don't think it was necessary, okay? Season of Love by Helena Greer is a sapphic, grumpy sunshine holiday romance, and it was cute as heck. It can't be the best sapphic holiday romance I've ever read because of the next book on this list, but it definitely is very high up there. And honestly, at the end, there is the grand gesture to end all grand gestures. It is worth reading for that alone. It was excellent. I loved it. 4.5 stars, and I'm giving this one a top rating. I really thought it was amazing. Kiss Your Once for Me by Alison Cochrane takes the title for the best sapphic holiday romance I've ever read. This one is so iconic. The plot's kind of convoluted, so stick with me. So our main character is fake marrying this guy for financial reasons, but she doesn't know that this guy's sister is a girl she is in love with and hooked up with last Christmas season, and now she has to spend the holidays with both of them, with all these secrets among them. It's honestly iconic. It was so good, and it also gets bonus points for a number of Taylor Swift references. I gave this book a full 5 stars, and it is for sure a top. Next, Mistakes Were Made by Meryl Wilsner. If you're into MILFs, this is the book for you. I wasn't sure if I would be into MILFs, but I definitely was. 4 stars. Hi. Can't Resist Her by Kiana Alexander. This small town, second chance, sapphic romance was one big ball of cringe and bad writing and gentrification propaganda. I gave this 1 star, and it is for sure a bottom. The Holiday Trap by Rowan Parrish. This is a super sweet, cozy, kind of holiday dual romance. There is an MM romance and an FF romance happening. I enjoyed both of them, although the love interest in the sapphic relationship was kind of questionable. Overall, I thought this was cute and cozy and fun, worth the read, just kind of like middle of the road filler book. She's a filler queen. 3.5, and she's getting a safe. Ben and Beatrice by Catalina Gamarra. This book is for you if you want a book with constant sex scenes between 2 characters who absolutely despise one another, have 0 chemistry, and who continually fight over political issues with 0 nuance or depth. This is the book for you. I gave it 2 stars and a bottom rating. A Dash of Salt and Pepper by Kasoko Jackson is Kasoko Jackson's sophomore book and was definitely a lot more successful than I'm So Not Over You, although it still wasn't quite there. I still found the narration quite annoying and the dialogue was a bit cringe, but I definitely think that there was more character growth, the relationship was better, there was more chemistry between the characters, so I definitely would recommend picking this book up over I'm So Not Over You, although it still wasn't a perfect book for me. I gave it 3.5 stars and I'm giving it a safe rating. Asher Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake is probably my favorite of the 3 Bright Falls books. I just really related so much to Astrid and her story, and I really thought her chemistry with Jordan was top notch. I also really loved how Astrid was discovering her sexuality at a later age. I thought that was such important rep and so meaningful, and I don't know, I just really liked this book. I liked this couple the best out of all of them. I give it 4.5 stars and I'm putting it in the high category. This I Promise You by Jordan Green and Caleb Daniel. This is a new adult college romance with stilted writing and an awkward, ridiculous, over-the-top 3rd act breakup that was honestly horrible to read, and it kind of ruined the experience for me. I gave it a really nice rating of a 3, and I'm gonna put it in the safe category because it wasn't terrible. It was really just that 3rd act breakup that was bad. Next, You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince by Timothy Janowski. This experiment has really taught me that me and Timothy Janowski just do not get along. We were not meant for one another. I ended up DNFing this book, and I'm really sorry, but I don't understand how anyone was able to finish it, much less like it. Like I said, DNF, this is going in the bottom. One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston is definitely not going in the bottom. We're going from a DNF to a 5 star because I fucking love this book. This sapphic magical realism story isn't for everyone, but it was definitely for me. I loved that it was set in New York. I loved the time travel-y magic stuff, and I really loved the chemistry between our main character and the love interest. Jane is honestly my forever book girlfriend for real. I'm obsessed with her. I want one of her for myself. Please and thank you. 5 stars. This book's going in the top. The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane is probably one of my favorite books of all time, so it's definitely going in the top. No surprises there. If you haven't read this book yet, I'm not sure what you're doing with your life. It's set on a reality TV show a la The Bachelor, in which Charlie, the star, and Dev, his handler, end up falling in love behind the scenes. It has excellent mental health rep and is honestly just so soft and sweet and well written and lovely and wonderful. This book is tippity top of the tops. This is the winner of the whole thing. Give her crown, Rue. She deserves it. I love this book so much. Less successful is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This sapphic romance is very, very slow and actually really doesn't have much romance at all. It's kind of more about our main character trying to figure out what to do with her life after spending all of it in education. She's a very smart cookie, but she doesn't know what to do next, and this is kind of the story of her figuring out what to do next. I really honestly didn't like it. The writing is kind of weird. I ended up giving it 2 stars, and I'm gonna put it in the low category. Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper is probably the first witchy romance book I've ever liked. It is sapphic and cozy and has the best fall vibes. I definitely think it's worth picking up in the fall season. It'll really get you in the mood. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I'm gonna give it a high rating actually. It was really good. It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake by Claire Christian is I think the very first book that I DNF'd for this list. When I first started, I wasn't gonna DNF anything, but this book convinced me that that is not a good thing to do and that I need to just DNF the book if I'm hating it. So it opened the door for all the other DNFs on this list. I'm very grateful to it for that. But that's the only thing I'm grateful to it for because it was fucking horrible. If you want to read a book about a girl fucking her way to self-actualization, this is the book for you. I'm not sure if she actually made it to self-actualization though, of course, because I didn't finish, but that's what she was trying to do. And it was so stupid. It was so horrible and so cringe, and I hated it so much. DNF, obviously. And this is going straight to the bottom. How to Find a Princess by Alyssa Cole seemed promising as I do love a bodyguard romance. This is not quite bodyguard, but it's pretty similar. But this one really didn't hit. It kind of felt like a weird Princess Diaries retelling, almost like a shameful knockoff of the Princess Diaries, you know what I mean? And honestly, like way too much page time was dedicated to talking about the love interest's dirty glasses and how they were always smudged and dirty. And like, that's gross. Like, why are you bringing that up constantly in this romance book? This is not endearing her to me. This is making me think she has bad hygiene. Stop. I gave this book 2 stars and it's getting a bottom rating. Subtle Blood by KJ Charles is a historical romance mystery series and is for when you want a little historical romance with a dash of Sherlock Holmes. I did, in fact, read this entire series for this video. You're welcome. But it was definitely worth it because this was a good one. KJ Charles really is like the tenet of the historical romance, the queer historical romance genre for a reason. Excellent. Loved this series. I ended up giving this last book, which is probably my favorite in the series, a 4.5, and it's going in the high category. The Queer Principles of Kit Webb by Kat Sebastian. Now, while KJ Charles is like one of the most famous writers in the genre, I think Kat Sebastian is probably my favorite historical queer romance author. I love their stuff. So good. And this book was no different. This is an Class Traitor historical romance, and I loved it. It was so funny. The writing is quick, witty, and fun, and the romance was super sweet. I really loved this one. 4.5 high. The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. Honestly, like the cover makes you think that it's a lesbian historical romance, but really it is a historical romance between a woman and a bi-gender character, which honestly is even better. It was very exciting, very interesting. It involves mystery and intrigue as well as pining and yearning and a super soft, sweet romance. I really loved this one a lot. I gave it 4 stars and I'm also giving it a high rating. Hang the Moon by Alexandria Bellafleur. This book again. I really fucking hate this book, and I have some things to say about it. There is entirely too much talk of bodily functions in this book. We talk about sweating, we talk about peeing, we talk about drooling. Like, in my romances, I like to pretend that those things don't happen. Thank you. Please stop putting them on the page. Disgusting. Also, I hate to be rude, but if a man ever raised up his shirt and he had a giant watercolor tattoo of the balloon house from Up on his pec, I would vomit and my vagina would shrivel up and die. Please put your shirt down, sir. I'm leaving. I really think Alexandria should stick to the sapphics and stop trying to write these MF romances, even if the characters are bi, queer, whatever. This book was horrible. I gave this 1 star and I'm just going straight to the bottom. Dress 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas. Even though this one is actually sapphic, it is also fucking horrible. Now, I can get down and dirty with the best of them. I love a taboo romance, but I kind of draw the line at the characters being abhorrently mean to one another for no fucking reason. That's the kind of taboo I can't get behind. I don't care what kind of trauma or feelings it's hiding. It's a coping mechanism for. There's frankly no excuse for it, and I just find it impossible to root for a romance when they treat each other this poorly. Bully romance just doesn't sit right in my soft, squishy heart. So this one's not for me. If you do like a bully romance between girls in high school, like maybe there are people that like like this, but I just feel like they're not people that read queer romance. I don't know if that's like an awful or offensive thing to say, but I don't know. This book was a DNF. I did not finish it. I hated it so much. And it's going at the bottom. The Hellion's Waltz by Olivia Waite is a sapphic Regency novella, and it's kind of cool in that the main characters and the romance are accepted by their family and the people in their lives that they care about. But I only remember that because I wrote that in my review. I don't remember this book at all. Like, I feel like I read it and then it went right out the other side. Like, no thoughts, head empty. Apparently I gave it a 3.5, and I'm just gonna put it in the safe category because, again, don't fucking remember it. Her Countess to Cherish by Jane Walsh is also a Regency romance, and it involves a female and a bigender character. I really liked the representation and thought that that was done well, but the writing was really poor and the execution was lackluster. There was no chemistry between the characters, and it was honestly just like awkward and poorly plotted. I didn't like this book at all. I gave it 2 stars and it's getting a low rating. Satisfaction Guaranteed by Carolina Stetz Waters was honestly one of the most surprising favorites to come out of this list. I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did. Honestly, maybe my low expectations are why I loved it so much, but it really was just a super cute rom-com. It follows our very buttoned up main character who inherits a sex toy shop called, you guessed it, Satisfaction Guaranteed, in which our love interest already works. It was very cute, had a surprising amount of emotional depth and like intrigue in the plot, and I really thought the chemistry just jumped off the page. I really loved this book. I thought it was so good, and I definitely would recommend picking it up. I think it is like one of the best underrated books on this list. I gave it a 4.5 and it's getting a high rating for me. If You Love Something by Jace Ellis is trope soup. If you can think of a trope, this book probably had it. Second chance romance, marriage of convenience, forced proximity, hurt comfort. What more could you ask for? I could perhaps ask for better writing and a less convoluted plot, but who am I to judge? I gave this book a 3.5 and it's getting a safe rating from me. Change of Heart by Claire Lydon is a sapphic fake dating romance that was honestly really promising for the first 80%. I was like, I'm really loving this. Like, why does this have a bad rating? And then incest happened. Well, it didn't happen, it was just referred to, but honestly, of all of the like directions that the conflict in this book could have taken, why did we have to jump to incest? I'm not sure. Like, why was it even suggested? Please. I give this book a 2.5 and it's getting a low rating. When Tara Met Farah by Tara Pammy. Considering the author has the same name as one of the characters in this book, I'm like kind of afraid that this is semi-autobiographical, and thus I feel a little bit bad for giving it a low rating, but not bad enough to actually not give it a low rating because it really sucked. I give this a 2-star and it's going to the bottom. Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake by Alexis Hall is another hit from Alexis Hall. I just really love his writing. I think it's so funny. And this one was no different. It was really good. It is set on like, what's it called? The Great British Bake Off, which is so fun. I love cooking competition shows. There's so many in this list. It's great. This is an MF romance with a bisexual main character. Honestly, Harry, the love interest, is like one of the best book boyfriends ever. Like, he is probably tied, actually I think he probably surpasses Fox a little bit for the best book boyfriend to come out of this list, but he definitely is really high up there. I love Harry so much. This book got a 4.5 star for me. It is a little slow, so if you're not ready for that, maybe you don't pick this one up, but if you're like in the mood for a like slow paced cozy baking rom-com, like definitely give this one a try. Just like maybe be in the right mood for it first. This one's going in the high category. Next is Tommy Cabot Was Here by Kat Sebastian. This is probably the most successful use of the second chance romance trope that I have ever read. It was just done beautifully in this book. It is a beautiful historical romance that has so much emotional depth, plot, and sweetness packed into 150 pages. It is a novella, it's very short, but so much was accomplished in those 150 pages. Like, incredible. I give this one a 4.5 star and it's going in the top. Next, My Heart to Find by Erin Annalise. This book is great because all 3 of the main characters have some form of asexuality represented, which is great. This also has great chronic illness rep, specifically Lyme disease, which was really interesting to read about, but I don't think that this book was written the best or executed the best. It was a little bit like slow and boring and kind of convoluted, I think. It was also, I found it to be very surface level in that I was like told how to feel instead of like genuinely feeling my feelings based on what was written. So I didn't love that about this book. I think it has promise if it was like better edited or just like maybe the author had some more practice, you know. 2.5 stars and it's going in the low category. And the very last book on this list, The Other Man by Farhad Dedibajour. I really wish I could say that we're ending this list with a bang, but it's more like a fizzle. The Other Man is a book which involves our main character cheating on his betrothed wife with a man he met on the internet and telling neither of them about it. This book was so frustrating because our main character just refused to be honest with anyone he was involved with and just ends up like hurting everyone in his life, including himself, even though there was like plenty of people that he could trust to talk to in his life. But I know everybody's coming out story is different, yada yada. Like, that's not relevant in this conversation because the main character is just an idiot. I gave this book 2 stars and it's going in the low category. Okay, so this is the final ranking of all of our books. Anything that's like in the top or high category, I would definitely 100% recommend. The books in the safe category, I would say pick up if you like the tropes or if you think the descriptions sound interesting, but they're not something you need to like go out and read right away. Books in the low and the bottom category were definitely not for me. They could be for you, but I honestly wouldn't recommend them for one reason or another, so take with that what you will. Yeah, I hope that this was an interesting video. I think that's all I have to say. I'm gonna go ahead and link my favorites in the description down below if you are interested in those. I will get a tiny commission if you buy through my link. No pressure. They're just there if you would like them. Also, down in the description you can find my links to other social media if you'd like to follow me on other platforms. And if you liked this video and this is your first time here, I would appreciate if you subscribed. Other free ways to support this channel are liking and leaving a comment. Let me know down below if you've read any of these and how you feel about them. I would love to know. And also let me know if you liked this video because I thought it was so fun to make, and I'm so glad I'm like finally sat down and filmed it and I'm done with reading all these books. And of course, we're gonna be on to the next list after this. So will I be able to get that out in less than 2 years? We will see. Anyway, thank you so much for being here and watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.